Well, it did happen. Announcement came down this morning pretty early that Mike Zimmer fired by the Vikings, and surprisingly, also Rick Spielman fired. The Zimmer thing was very much expected. Um, the Spielman thing was not quite as certain because there were reports out like late last week or over the weekend that he was maybe not going to remain in his same role, but he was maybe going to get reassigned in some way, but stay with the organization. Guess not. You expect these things to happen, and then you see the headline, you see the notification on the phone that they fired, and it's still like there's still a shock value to that. There's still like because it's I mean, Zimmer's been here since 2014. Spielman's been here in one form or another since '06. Like, so this is very much, this is the biggest change, at the top with this organization in a decade and a half. And I you know I I think overall have been more positive on Zimmer and Spielman both over the years than some people. Because some people, the second you have any sort of bad year, down year, or missed draft pick or whatever, they want everybody fired. And that's not how rational people behave. But yeah, I mean, I agree that it's time. With both. I kind of almost talked myself into it with Spielman lately, because I was very much, as recently as even a couple weeks ago, very much like, yeah, Zimmer's going to go, but yeah, I think you definitely keep Spielman. But then you really start to look at it, so much of the real good, like the feathers in the cap for Spielman, were, they're getting further in the past, and I've already seen people trying to craft the narrative that signing Kirk Cousins is what got these guys fired. No, that's not true. They're going to say it because ultimately the hatred of Kirk Cousins trumps all. But it's like, no, this is signing of Kirk Cousins is not, what got either of them fired. What ultimately gets Zimmer fired is he's not, you missed the playoffs 3 out of 4 years, but you particularly this year, I thought was by far his worst year as a head coach. And I don't think it was even close. Like, technically they had a worse record last year, but I thought the coaching was far worse this year. And I thought the coaching, I think, unquestionably cost them more wins this year. I will go to my grave saying that getting 7 wins out of the 2020 season was actually a pretty good accomplishment. But only getting 8 out of the 2021 team, I don't think that's okay. And just the basics of football, very few coaches are going to survive missing the playoffs consecutive years unless they've got, a Super Bowl ring or have just a ton of equity built up. And not that Zimmer didn't have it, but he didn't have enough to survive that. And of course, he's a defensive coach, and his defenses have been really bad 2 years in a row. And that's what got Leslie Frazier fired, before him. You're known for defense, and your defense sucks, multiple years. Like, you're gone. That's just how the NFL is going to work. And as for Spielman, it wasn't signing Cousins that did him in. It was everything after that, basically. Bad draft picks other than JJ, and maybe Darrisaw, we'll see. But I mean, obviously we're going to see with different people running the show. But, and yeah, like, Hughes is hurt. Gladney is a fucking jackass. You didn't see that coming, But Bradbury is a big miss. That was, you take a center in the middle of the first round, you're expecting that guy to be, a stalwart of your line for a decade, and he ain't going to get a second contract. So, that was a big miss, and he hasn't really supplemented any of that with, by hitting on the later round picks. He's hit on a few like Brian O'Neill, and I still think Irv Smith will be there, and I think Wanham certainly has shown that he's going to be a player. And a couple other guys like Ezra Cleveland looks like he'll be solid, but you know, it wasn't like before where he's drafting Daniil Hunter and Stephon Diggs and Eric Kendricks in the middle rounds, and these guys are becoming like absolute star players. Like you got to do that occasionally, especially if you're not hitting on your top picks, which we weren't. Like Rick Spielman didn't become worse at drafting because of signing Kirk Cousins. He got worse at drafting because he just got worse at drafting. And then his most of his free agent moves the last few years really didn't pan out. Some of it ain't his fault. I mean, it's not his fault that Michael Pierce opted out for a year and then spent this whole year getting hurt over and over. But gives big money to Dalvin Tomlinson. That didn't really work out. Most of these defensive guys we signed this past off season, were either busts like Breeland or just okay. Like even like Patrick Peterson, like he was a good signing, but I don't think he didn't really move the needle that much. And you saw it, like like all these added guys onto the defense, and the defense was just a teeny bit better than last year. And that's not enough. And also there's been some contract extensions that, and with all these, like a lot of these moves I agreed with at the time, but and about whether you agree with it at the time, it's ultimately about how they play out. And he's made some contract extensions that haven't worked. Like I think the Dalvin Cook one was probably a mistake. Daniil Hunter, even I know it ain't like obviously you're going to sign Daniil Hunter, but he's given you very little the last 2 years, because he's missed basically a season and a half plus, and that's a problem. And then of course there's a lot of decisions coming up, on guys like Hunter too. But I would even say maybe Harrison Smith extension, maybe that wasn't a good idea ultimately. Maybe even Thielen, because he's having the injury stuff too, and like these add up, they especially add up over years, and that's what takes a team from 13-3 in an NFC Championship game to missing the playoffs multiple years in a row. It ain't because they signed Kirk Cousins. Like these guys are probably fired sooner than this if they don't sign Kirk Cousins, because you probably don't make the play. Probably don't even make the playoffs in 19. They weren't going to be around after 4 years of missing the playoffs, and but that'll be the narrative, I'm sure. But that Cousins is they'll say he's a coach killer and a GM killer. It's like, no, that's not the reality. It's the overall building of the roster just got very bad from Spielman, and I think we've still got a lot of like top end talent on the team, but then again, it's not getting coached to the maximum, and that's on both. I mean, like it ain't Clint Kubiak becoming the offensive coordinator. That's not on either of them individually. That's on both of them. And guys like Adam Zimmer getting promoted, that's on both of them. Like, stuff like it's not even the nepotism thing that's been complained about, because that can go either way. But there's a lot of like sons of coaches that are out there on coaching staffs only because basically they're sons of coaches, and some of them even go on to have careers. But like Kyle Shanahan has been a head coach for a long time. But I just think ultimately it's the wins and losses. Like, you don't judge quarterback on a win and loss, but you do judge a coach and a GM, because there's no other way to judge them. And I think both had a real good run here. I think time will be kind to both of them. I think even with the people who are celebrating the firings, which whatever, they're I don't know, it's kind of gross to me, but I think time will be good for both to both of their tenures here, and that's whether they hit on the next hires or not. But I think they had a good run here, both, and thank you Zim, thank you Rick. It's been times a blast, at times disappointing, obviously, but overall, I think they did pretty good. And of course, this will make this offseason incredibly unpredictable because we don't know. Like, you can kind of predict kind of how things are going to go for many years now, but we don't know. We don't know who the new GM is going to be. I mean, you see names out there, but it's like, you have no idea. Like, me personally, I don't, without even doing names, like, I would always look at the organizations that are consistently successful, but maybe don't always have that Hall of Fame level quarterback. So that would be like, your Baltimores and, certainly, like not like Green Bay or somebody, because like you have quarterbacks like they do who are just like robo QBs, like yeah, you're gonna look good no matter what you got. Like, I wouldn't look at Kansas City either. But yeah, I have no idea on GMs, and of course then that course means I have no idea on head coaches. We've all seen a lot of the names out there for possible head coaches. I think they're going to go offensive mind for a head coach. There's some defensive guys out there. I mean, if they want to, it's not like, if you hire a defensive coach, that means another defensive coach, that means you're not going to have a good offense. You could have a good offense. There have been Super Bowls won by coaches who are known for, just off the top of my head, Brian Billick was an offensive coach, and he won a Super Bowl because his defense was great. So it can go both ways, and obviously, like, Belichick has had a long run with winning with big time offenses and stuff. But so I have no idea. Like, we've all seen the names. There's a few that I would probably put ahead of them. Just I personally would go offensive mind. Someone who's more on the offensive side. I'm not real big on like the retread coach. A lot of people are really bullish on Doug Peterson. I don't know. I'm not really that interested in Peterson. If he's the hire, I'll hope he does well. But I'm not really into him. I'd be more interested maybe in Brian Flores, who for some reason the Dolphins fired. I don't understand that at all. Why would you fire a guy who took you from, what was it, 1-7 to almost making the playoffs? I don't really understand that one. That's what it is. Sometimes organizations just fire coaches to fire coaches, and I've been against that for years. That's why I was against the Zimmer. People were calling for Zimmer to be fired in 2016. Because they had a disappointing year. It's like, no, you don't fire a head coach until it's really time, and it was time. So, we'll see. All I can say now is we'll see. We'll see what happens with the next GM and coach, and I think if you hit on these hires, I think this team can be very, very good, and very good quickly. I would hate I hate the idea. I mean, and there's no turning back now, but I would hate the idea that we hire the wrong guys and we go into purgatory, because I don't think that even like the last couple of years are purgatory. I think it's disappointing seasons, but there's a level. There's certainly a level or two below what we've been dealing with, and I hope we don't go there. I hope we don't sink into that. But hopefully we make the right hire. I mean, we haven't. I mean, Spielman was not GM the whole time he was here. He became like the full guy running the show after 2011. But it's been more than 10 years since we've had someone else run the show. So cautiously excited to see what happens. I think this could be an off season. Like just it's not going to be. I think there's definitely something to say about Spielman maybe having favoritism towards guys that he's drafted and signed. I don't think the new guy's going to have that, and that could mean some guys maybe depart this offseason that will be very surprising, and that may include Kirk. I mean, we'll see. There's teams that would absolutely benefit from taking Kirk Cousins if the Vikings decide to trade him. There's teams out there that are fringe playoff teams, or maybe even in the playoffs, that probably would benefit greatly from getting a Kirk Cousins. I hope we keep him, but there's no way to know. There's no way to know. Like, new GM could come in and just, even if the new GM, new coach, they come in and they like Kirk, but they just want to do their own thing. That's fine. Like, we gotta roll with it. But yeah, so that's all I gotta say for now. I know they're gonna have like a big press conference this afternoon. We'll see. Maybe I'll do some sort of deeper follow-up video. I was gonna do some sort of like season retrospective. I guess that'll come later. But yeah, so that's it. So Rick, Mike, thanks for the good times, and we had some fun. We had some good times over the years with these guys. They gave us some memories that are unforgettable. And they didn't win us the Super Bowl, but I think they did a pretty good job. And I think both will catch on with in some form. I think there's a decent chance Zimmer might be a coordinator again sometime. And I think Rick Spielman will get a GM job somewhere. Because even though it kind of tailed off at the end here, I still think he's been pretty good, and I still think he certainly would be an upgrade over certain situations that teams have now. But Rick, Mike, thanks for the good times, and good luck with whatever comes next.